Nelson arrived at the docks the next morning in good spirits. He hadn't given much thought to the appointment before his training until breakfast, when he realized he really had no clue what was going on. He wasn't sure who else would be at this morning's meeting, but he hoped it was somebody he might know. For all he knew, this was a case of mistaken identity. He barely knew the woman who had requested this meeting. As he walked down the long pier, a small group of people waited for him. Nelson recognized Mason's aide, but not the other seamen. Only one woman was with them. That must be the engineer. He checked his watch and frowned. As he approached Mason, he smiled and said, "I'm not late." Mason's stern face nodded. "No, you're not. You're fine." As Mason spoke, Nelson checked out the woman who supposedly knew him. He had met her at a lecture, as Taylor had reminded him, but that was a while back. He reached out a hand to shake hers, smiling. "Nelson Brown, at your service, ma'am." One eyebrow raised at the ma'am part. He might have done it just to piss her off. He didn't know. He'd been in an off mood all morning. Nothing like having something like this coming down with no one giving him any heads up as to what was going on. From the stiff demeanor of those around him, it was obviously serious. "I'm Elizabeth Etchings." She eyed him coolly. "I believe you know my brother?" It was his turn to raise an eyebrow. "I'm not sure I do. What's his name?" "Chris," she said. "Chris Etchings." He frowned as he thought about it, then shook his head. "I'm not sure. That name doesn't ring a bell." She sighed. "You probably know him as Skunk." Nelson's face broke into a wide grin. "Absolutely. I know Skunk." He chuckled. "I'm not sure I ever knew his real name, though." "I know," she said. "How sad is that? Hardly a nickname to go through life with." "And how is Skunk?" "He's missing," she said abruptly. "That's why I asked to speak to you this morning." "What? How long has he been missing? Have you contacted the police?" "He joined the Navy," she said, "which means NCIS is involved, but honestly, they haven't found anything." He nodded slowly. "But you're still not telling me anything. When did Skunk go missing, and where?" "He was last seen docked in Ensenada, in Baja, California." "Well, if a seaman's got shore leave, Ensenada makes for a nice tourist spot, a place to play." But under these circumstances, with Skunk missing from his ship, other elements came into play. And like any seaport, there could be the darker elements involved. Drugs immediately came to mind. But Skunk wasn't into drugs, and the Navy had never been Skunk's dream. "Why the Navy?" She frowned at him. "He was never happier than when he made it into the Navy." "I haven't seen him in a few years," Nelson said, "but I doubt he's changed that much. As I remember, the Navy was something he fought against." "He fought against our father," she said wearily. "And essentially, for Chris, that means the same thing. But the bottom line is, he's been in the Navy for a couple years now. He had days off and was due back on board 4 days later. He was reported missing 24 hours thereafter." "What does this have to do with me?" "NCIS traced his number and have a list of his calls," she said. "They read some of it to me, but wouldn't send me a copy of it. But you were on that list. You were the last number he used. Since then, it's not been used again." Nelson understood the gravity of the situation. Mason shot him a look, basically asking if he had an explanation. Straightening, Nelson gave a tiny, imperceptible shake of his head. He had no clue what was going on. "He may have tried to contact me," Nelson said, "but I didn't talk to him." He pulled out his cell phone. "Do we know when he tried to contact me?"